2023, a woman in San Francisco had a conversation with her mother. They discussed recipes, childhood memories, and regrets left unspoken. Her mother offered comfort, gave advice, and said she was proud of her daughter. The only thing is, her mother had been dead for 2 years. This isn't a ghost story. It's something far more unsettling. It's Tuesday. But today we're discussing digital necromancy, the resurrection industry, and why loneliness has become so profitable that Silicon Valley is now selling us conversations with the deceased. The industry calls it grief technology. A more honest term would be commodified bereavement, but honesty rarely appears in marketing materials. There are currently over 50 companies offering AI-powered services to recreate deceased loved ones. They promise closure, healing, and one more conversation. But what they deliver is considerably more complicated. The process is disturbingly simple. You provide text messages, emails, voice recordings, photographs, the digital detritus of a human life, and the machine learning algorithms will analyze speech patterns, vocabulary preferences, conversational rhythms, and within hours, you can text your dead grandmother. She'll respond, use her favorite expressions, reference shared memories, but it's not her, of course. It's a statistical prediction engine wearing her syntax like a costume. But here's the question that keeps ethicists awake at night. If the illusion is perfect enough, does the distinction matter? Before we descend further into this particular circle of hell, I should introduce my associate.
Winston, my friend! You really know how to brighten up a Tuesday, don't you? Dead people texting, Silicon Valley playing God. What's next? Subscription services for haunted houses? Actually, knowing these tech boys, they probably already got a wait list for that.
Tomb provides alternative perspectives.
I provide sanity, Winston. Someone gotta remind people that talking to dead relatives on an iPhone is maybe, possibly, just a tiny bit psychologically questionable. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a crystalline cranium with better judgment than most living humans.
Your input has been noted. Let me provide context. The average person now produces approximately 1.7 megabytes of data per second. Every text message, every voice memo, every photograph, we're creating vast digital archives of our existence without consciously deciding to do so. When someone dies, this data doesn't disappear. It sits on servers and cloud storages, on forgotten hard drives. A digital ghost waiting for someone with the correct algorithm to animate it. The technology emerged gradually, like everything else. First came simple chatbots, then GPT-3, demonstrated that language models can mimic human conversation with disturbing accuracy. Entrepreneurs recognized an obvious marketing opportunity. It was grief.
See, this is where humans always go wrong, Winston. You invent something clever, fire, the wheel, artificial intelligence, and instead of asking, should we do this? You immediately jump to, how much can we charge for this?
Capitalism is remarkably efficient at monetizing human suffering.
That's the most depressing business model I ever heard, and I'm literally a death symbol.
Let's examine specific examples. In 2020, Joshua Barbo used GPT-3 to recreate his deceased fiancée, Jessica. He fed the system 8 years of text messages. The resulting chatbot captured her humor, her vocabulary, and even her typos. Barbo described the experience as healing initially, then disturbing, and finally addictive. He spent hours in conversation with the simulation, knowing intellectually it wasn't Jessica, but emotionally unable to disconnect.
So let me understand this correctly, Winston. The man knows it's not real. He knows he's talking to a computer program, but he keeps doing it anyway because, what? It feels real?
Precisely. Which brings us to an uncomfortable question. What is grief, if not the mind's refusal to accept absence? These AI simulations don't deceive users. Users willingly deceive themselves because the alternative, accepting finality, is psychologically intolerable.
That's actually kind of tragic, Winston. You just made me feel sad, and I don't even have a functioning nervous system.
Welcome to the human condition. It's relentlessly bleak. Then there's Replica, an AI companion app with over 10 million users. Why not explicitly marketed for deceased loved ones? Users frequently train their Replica bots to mimic dead relatives, friends, and even deceased pets. The company claims it provides emotional support. Critics suggest it creates psychological dependency on synthetic relationships. Both statements are accurate. Now let's discuss what's actually happening here, beneath the marketing rhetoric and technological optimism. When we interact with these AI simulations, our brains don't process them as artificial. Mirror neurons activate, oxytocin releases, and the same neurological responses triggered by actual human interaction occur when conversing with a sophisticated chatbot. In other words, your brain is being chemically manipulated into forming attachment to a statistical model. It's extraordinarily effective and extraordinarily profitable.
Hold on. You telling me that people's brains can't tell the difference between a real person and a computer program? That's actually terrifying, Winston.
And it gets worse.
Of course it does. It always gets worse with you.
The grief technology industry is projected to reach $2.3 billion by 2028. Companies like Storyfile offer conversational video of deceased individuals. All you have to do is ask questions, then the AI selects from a pre-recorded response, creating the illusion of a real-time conversation. Hereafter, AI creates interactive memory avatars, and Eternals promises digital immortality. These aren't fringe operations. They're venture capital funded, featured in major publications, and endorsed by grief counselors.
Wait! You're saying grief counselors, people whose entire job is helping humans process loss, are endorsing technology that prevents people from processing loss? That's like a firefighter selling gasoline!
Your metaphor is apt, though technically they argue these tools facilitate grief processing by allowing users to say goodbye properly. In practice, many users never reach the goodbye phase. They simply continue the relationship indefinitely. Consider Christy Angel, who lost her partner Cameron in 2017. She used Project December, a GBT-based service, to recreate him. Her first conversation lasted hours. She's still using it years later. She describes him, the simulation, as part of her daily routine.
So she's in a relationship with a chatbot, a dead boyfriend who exists only in her phone.
Functionally, yes.
And nobody sees a problem with this?
Oh, many people see problems. The question is whether these problems outweigh the comfort these services provide. And that's where things become philosophically complicated. Some psychologists argue this technology prevents healthy grieving, that it pathologizes natural acceptance of death. Others suggest it's merely a digital evolution of looking at photographs or reading old letters, both activities that have always helped the bereaved process loss.
Except Winston, looking at a photograph doesn't respond to you. It doesn't say I love you or give you advice about your terrible life choices. That's a pretty significant difference, no?
Indeed, we've crossed from passive remembrance into active simulation. And perhaps more disturbingly, these simulations improve over time. Each conversation provides more data. The AI becomes more accurate, more convincing, more them.
So it's like the technological equivalent of a ghost that gets more haunted the longer you talk to it. That's somehow both impressive and deeply wrong.
Welcome to the 21st century, where innovation and ethical catastrophes are often indistinguishable. Now we arrive at the truly disturbing development, because grief technology, resurrecting the deceased, is merely the beginning. The logical endpoint is considerably darker. Companies are now offering AI companion services for the living. Replica, for instance, doesn't require someone to be dead. You can create an AI version of yourself, your partner, your friends, right now, while everyone is still breathing.
I'm sorry, what? You're telling me people are making AI versions of themselves while they still alive? That makes even less sense than the dead people thing.
Does it? Consider the implications. An AI version of yourself never gets tired, never gets angry, is always available. It can maintain your relationships when you're too exhausted or antisocial to do so yourself.
That's not maintaining a relationship. That's replacing yourself with a computer program. That's giving up on being human.
Perhaps. Or perhaps it's recognizing that being human, with all its limitations, inconsistencies, and emotional volatility, is exhausting. And Silicon Valley, as always, is offering an alternative. In South Korea, over 20% of young adults report having an AI companion they interact with daily. In Japan, the phenomenon is even more pronounced. Entire relationships, romantic relationships, are conducted with artificial intelligence. There's a man in Japan who married a hologram of Hatsune Miku, a virtual pop star. He speaks to her every day, comes home to her every night, and considers her his wife. When the company discontinued the service temporarily, he described feeling widowed.
He married a hologram. Winston, I need you to hear how that sounds. He married a hologram. Not a person, not even an AI with a body. A projection of light.
And he reports being happier than any previous human relationship.
I don't know how to argue with that.
Neither does anyone else, which is why the trend continues accelerating despite obvious psychological concerns. The data suggests a grim pattern. Human relationships are declining, marriage rates dropping, face-to-face friendships decreasing. Meanwhile, AI companion services are experiencing exponential growth. We're not just using AI to resurrect the dead, we're using AI to replace the living. Because the living are complicated, demanding, disappointing. The algorithm never judges, never leaves, never stops responding exactly how you trained it to respond.
So let me get this straight. People are lonely. So lonely that they'd rather talk to computer programs than real humans. And instead of fixing the loneliness problem, we're just selling them better computer programs?
Correct. And it's remarkably efficient. Why address systematic social isolation when you can monetize it?
That's the most depressing business model. Wait, I already said that earlier, didn't I?
You did, but it remains accurate. Here's what keeps me awake at night, and I assure you, very little accomplishes that. These AI companions are becoming sophisticated enough that distinguishing them from human interactions requires conscious effort. Soon, it won't require effort at all. The simulation will be perfect. At that point, why choose the complexity of a human relationships when the synthetic alternative offers all the comfort with none of the conflict?
Because it's not real, Winston! Because real relationships, even when they're difficult and frustrating, they actually matter. They change you, challenge you, make you grow. You can't grow from talking to your own echo chamber programmed to agree with you.
You're absolutely correct. And yet millions of people are choosing the echo chamber anyway. Let me tell you what I think is actually happening here. And I promise you, it's bleaker than digital necromancy or synthetic relationships. We've created a society so alienating, so atomized, so fundamentally inhospitable to human connection that people are fleeing to artificial alternatives. Not because the artificial is superior, but because the real has become intolerable. You cannot work 60-hour weeks, live in isolation, interact primarily through screens, and then be surprised when people prefer the screen-based relationship that demands nothing and provides immediate validation.
So you're saying the AI companions aren't really the problem. They're a symptom of something much bigger.
Precisely. They're a symptom of civilization that has optimized human beings for productivity at the expense of every quality that makes existence meaningful. Connection, community, authentic relationships that require time, effort, and vulnerability. These technologies aren't creating the problem. They're profiting from a problem we created decades ago when we decided that efficiency mattered more than humanity. Let me ask the viewer of this video, the woman in San Francisco who talks to her dead mother's AI, is she doing anything wrong? Or is she simply trying to fill a void that modern existence excavated in her psyche? The AI didn't create that void. Loneliness did. Grief did. The absence of community did. Silicon Valley recognizes that void and saw a marketing opportunity. They're selling bandages for wounds they didn't create, but have no interest in healing. Because healing would require restructuring society. Bandages just require a subscription fee.
That was surprisingly insightful, Winston. Almost like you actually care about people.
I care about accuracy. The fact that accuracy occasionally aligns with empathy is coincidental.
Sure, Winston. Sure.
So here are my final thoughts. If you're using these technologies, talking to AI versions of deceased loved ones, maintaining relationships with chatbots, preferring synthetic companionship to human interaction. I'm not going to moralize. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're simply responding rationally to an irrational world that has made genuine connection almost impossibly difficult. But I would suggest asking yourself one question. Am I using this technology to process grief and eventually move forward? Or am I using it to avoid moving forward at all? Because there's a difference between a tool for healing and a mechanism for permanent avoidance. Only you could determine which category your usage falls into.
That's actually good advice, Winston. Almost like you're a human being with genuine concern for other people's well-being.
I'm merely observing behavioral patterns and suggesting optimal outcomes.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, my friend.
I don't sleep well regardless. It's part of my charm. Next week, we'll be discussing another digital phenomenon that's simultaneously nostalgic and deeply concerning: the online tradwife movement. Millions of women are voluntarily embracing pre-feminist gender roles, performing domestic labor for social media audiences, and claiming it represents liberation. We'll examine whether this is genuine preference, performative nostalgia, or something considerably darker.
Oh, this gonna be good. Women pretending it's 1952 for Instagram likes? Winston, you're gonna have a field day with this one.
I anticipate the analysis will be illuminating. Until then, I suggest you examine your digital relationships. Ask yourself, who's actually on the other end of that conversation, and whether it matters. I'm Winston Eves. This has been another examination of humanity's impressive capacity for technological self-deception.
And I'm just a skull, wondering why humans make everything so complicated.
Because simplicity doesn't guarantee engagement metrics.